Today I'm going to share everything you need to know about the brand new Kodak Ektar H35N half-frame camera. I'm going to tell you what it is, we're going to go over the specs, I'm going to show you how to load it, how to unload it, I'm going to share a bunch of sample images with you, and then give you my overall thoughts on the shooting experience and whether or not this camera might be right for you. There's a lot of information here, so if you want to skip around, I've got it divided into chapters. You can find the timestamps in the description. Alright, so what is it? The Kodak Ektar H35N is a brand new half-frame camera from Redo Pro under license from Kodak. It's an updated version of 2022's H35. Now, being half frame means that each image only takes up half a normal frame, so you can get 48 images on a 24 exposure roll of film or 72 images on a 36 exposure roll of film. The good folks at Redo kindly sent me one of these to review, and that's what you're watching now. Just like the original H35, the H35N has a great retro vibe reminiscent of the old 126 Instamatic cameras back in the day. It comes in 6 colors. This one is called Glazed Blue and it retails for $64.99 in US dollars. Let's look at the specs. Its 22mm lens has one glass element and one plastic element. It's got a fixed aperture of f8 and fixed focus from 1 meter to infinity. Just like the original Kodak Ektar H35, the H35N has a fixed shutter speed of 1/100th of a second. Unlike the H35, the H35N also includes a bulb shutter which you can activate with a cable release. And the H35N includes a tripod socket to avoid camera shake during those long exposures with the bulb shutter. The built-in flash is powered by one AAA battery and is activated by turning this ring around the lens. Once the red indicator light on the back turns on, you're good to go. Right next to the flash ring, you'll see the lever for the built-in star filter, which will put a 4-point star flare around bright light sources. Being half-frame, the film gate is only 24mm by 17mm and it's in portrait orientation just like the viewfinder. The whole thing is super lightweight and clocks in at only 110 grams. Alright, now it's time to load the Kodak Ektar H35N, and what better film to load it with than Kodak Ektar 100. Open up the latch on the back. We're going to put our film cassette in here. We're going to find the little slot for our film here. We're going to pull the leader out a little bit. We're going to slot this in here. Now we're going to make sure we're going to catch some of these teeth here in the sprockets. It looks like it's moving, so we're good. We're going to close this up. And as we advance this wheel here, we should see this one turn if we've loaded it correctly. Let's see. Looks like we got a winner. I'm going to go ahead and snap off a couple shots here. I'm going to snap it off again. Wind it. Looks like we're at 1 in the counter. We're ready to go. So when I shot this film, I really want to take advantage of the half-frame format and compose my images in diptychs where I picked 2 images that went well together on the same frame. If you see 2 of the same images side by side, one was taken with the star filter, one was taken without. But before we get to the images, let's unload the film. Unloading the film is easy. You just pop in this rewind button on the bottom. And then you've got your winder here. You have an arrow that tells you to wind in this direction, so you just flip up this little lever and start rewinding. Now, you can hear that little noise, and now I feel there's no tension in here. It's spinning very freely, so I know I'm at the end. Put that lever back in, pop the back, and your film is ready to be processed. So when you're ready to process your film, if you send it out to a lab, you want to give them a heads up that you shot it on a half-frame camera. It doesn't really affect the developing, but it definitely can affect the scanning or the printing. Now, having said that, I developed my film at home with my Cinesto C41 kit, and then when it came time to scan it with my Epson V550, the V550 recognized there were 2 images on each frame, and I had no problem with the scanning process. Alright, now it's time to take a look at some sample images from this roll of Kodak Ektar 100. I've included shots using the flash, the star filter, night shots using the long exposure and the bulb shutter. About the only thing I didn't shoot was any black and white. Let me know in the comments if you want to see me shoot a roll in black and white through this camera. At the end of this montage, I've got some cool night flares, and after the images, I'll give you my overall thoughts on the camera and the shooting experience with the Kodak Ektar H35N. That last shot was going to be a diptych too, but it was actually the last shot on the roll, and it was a bonus shot, number 73 on the roll, so I didn't get another shot to complete the diptych. I took all my pictures in the portrait or vertical orientation. Of course, if you want to take any landscape or horizontal shots, you can just rotate the camera 90 degrees. This camera was super easy to use. It's a true point and shoot. You don't have to focus. You don't set the aperture. You don't set the ISO. You don't have to set the shutter speed unless you want to get fancy and use the bulb shutter. Now, it's not an SLR, so you may have a little parallax error, but once you shoot that first roll and see your results, you can adjust and know what to expect the next roll. So, is this camera for you? Well, like any camera, really anything in life, depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for images that are tack sharp, edge to edge with no vignetting, then this camera may not be for you. Even with that glass element, the images are pretty soft. If you want to take macro or portrait shots with blurred out backgrounds, this camera's just not designed for that. But if you don't want to mess with a bunch of settings and like a lo-fi vibe, or you don't want to blow through a bunch of expensive film and want to squeeze 72 images onto one roll, or maybe you're going on a long weekend trip and don't want to have to pack a bunch of film, well then the H35N might just be for you. You can get a lot of those same benefits with the original H35 at a price of $49.99, but for me, that long exposure option is a game changer, and I think it makes the H35N well worth the extra 15 bucks. If you want to get the Kodak Ektar H35N for yourself, click on the link in the description. Until next time, do some good, have some fun, and shoot some film.